I have an affinity for 32s, and I recently added one more to the collection. No, not this. It's a 380 anyway, but its immediate successor as the main army pistol of Czechoslovakia, the vz.50. A batch of these were recently imported. I found this online for just $. It was described as being in fair condition, and it really looks it. Though there's no rust, the surface finish is well worn, and there's remnants of tape on the grips. The other side looks about the same. Actually, maybe a bit better. Function-wise, it seems like it's filled with gunk. The slide seems stiff. The trigger is mushy. The hammer is slow to fall, both in single action and double, though less so here because the hammer doesn't travel as far. The safety. Actually, let me cock it first. It's very stiff. I need 2 fingers to engage it. I'll get this disassembled in order to find out if there's anything wrong internally, or if it just needs a good cleaning. To field strip, I'll press down this button, pull the slide back, and lift it off. Taking a close look inside the frame and slide, they both look extremely dry, like they haven't seen a drop of oil in a while, a long while. That may be all this pistol needs. But before I do that, I want to remove the tape from the grips. This is coming off easier than I thought, and it's leaving no residue behind. Next, I'll take off the grips, just to get them out of the way before oiling the frame. There's just this one screw holding them on. They're not coming free. Looks like I'll need to pry them off. Oops. I should have seen that coming, since this is the smallest part of the grips. But I didn't expect it to snap so easily. I'll be more careful, sliding a razor blade between the two where they're the thickest, and trying to work off the left grip. There it is. It looks fine to me. Other than it breaking, there's no signs of dryness or shrinkage inside. Then I'll try to pry off the other grip. There's a small recess in the frame at the top. I'll be extra careful. And off it comes. I'll adjust the broken grip now, in order to give it time to cure. I have some JB Weld mixed up. I'll apply it to the broken piece. Then attach it to the rest of the grip panel. I can feel that it's in the right spot. The broken area had a rougher texture, not smooth, where the two pieces can slide on each other. I'll wipe the excess off from the outside, but leave it on the inside. I'll chisel this off later when it's fully cured. For the pistol itself, I could disassemble it and individually oil each of the moving parts, but I'm hoping I don't have to do that. Instead, I'll spray oil as best as I can inside the frame, hoping it works to free up the moving parts. I'm using ballistol. Actually, looks like I might be all out of aerosol. But there's still oil left, and spraying upside down works. I'll wait for the foam to dissolve into oil, and hit all of the parts as best as I can. After oiling, I'll test the functions. The safety is much easier to move after working in the oil. The magazine catch feels tight at first, but then it pops free and becomes easier to depress. The trigger feels better, though the trigger itself wasn't really stuck before. I'm trying to get the hammer to drop. Here I have a brain fart and think that there's a magazine safety, which there actually isn't. It's the safety that lets the hammer drop. I'll work the oil in. And that certainly feels a lot better than before. Now that everything seems to be working very well, I'll wipe off the excess ballistol. Within the slide, the firing pin seems to be stuck. Since the vz.50 featured in my last video had firing pin issues, I'm paying close attention to how this is working, which is not at all. I'll try oiling the slide in the same way that I did the frame, making sure to get both the front and the back of the firing pin. I'll give it some time to work before trying the firing pin again. It's not really budging. And neither is the retaining pin. I'll try once more with the oil. No difference. I don't think more oil is the solution here. I'll wipe away the excess ballistol. I'm going to have to remove the firing pin from the slide. I'll get this held in the vise because I'll need a third hand to get it out. Here's a better view of how stuck it is, or at least how much force it takes to move it, even after oiling. This is a concern, not only because it's unlikely to set off a cartridge, but the pin could get stuck forward, causing an out-of-battery detonation. Even the retaining pin here is slow to move. But with it held down, I'll use a small punch to push the firing pin out of the back of the slide. Looks like it's covered in old dried grease, which is probably why it was stuck. Next, I'll remove the retaining pin. It shouldn't require this much force to remove it, but out it comes. There's a bit more of that dried grease. With that grease on the pins, it's safe to assume it's within the slide as well. I'll remove it with ballistol and a cleaning rod as best as I can. I'll clean up the pins as well. Then get the slide reassembled. The retaining pin goes in first. It's a real tight fit to get it in. I'll need to use a small hammer to give it a few taps. But once it's in, it looks like it's moving freely enough. I'll add the firing pin. Pressing down on the retaining pin allows the firing pin to slide in. It just needs to be oriented correctly, with the triangular side facing me. Once it's in all the way, I'll test it out. You can see how it works. When pressed in, there's camming surfaces on both the firing and retaining pins. I'll give it one more spray of ballistol, wiping away the excess. The spring on the retaining pin doubles as a firing pin spring. The firing pin comes backwards as the retaining pin spring pushes that part up. Pretty clever design. I'll get the slide out of the vise and over to the workbench. But before reassembling everything, I wanted to remove this gunk on the frame that made the grips hard to remove. I'll scrub it off with a copper penny, which won't damage the finish. After all that work, it's the next day, and the epoxy on the grip is dry. I'll carefully chisel off the excess left on the inside until it's flush. Then I can begin reassembly, starting with installing the grips. Earlier, I showed how dry the inside of the slide was. To ensure it's smooth, I'll again use more ballistol on the frame slides. Any surface the slide rides on, and then the inside of the slide itself. Then I can put it together. Actually, the large end of the mainspring goes forward. Then I'll put the slide on. Once it's all together, I'll test it out. The slide is very smooth, so is the trigger and hammer. The safety is much easier to operate. The magazine catches better too. The mag drops free easily. Oil seems to have fixed all the issues I had with this pistol, and I didn't need to disassemble it further than field stripping and removing the grips. One last thing to test, how well it shoots. That worked well. I was shooting PPU, but I also picked up some of the surplus Czech 32 that came onto the market recently. I thought that it was fitting to shoot Czech 32 with a Czech pistol. It seems like the surplus ammo is a bit hotter than the PPU. To test that theory, I recently got a chronograph. I'll start off with the PPU. That last shot was quite a bit slower than the others, but a 5-shot average is 815 feet per second. This is actually my first time ever shooting with a chronograph, and it looks like it's working very well. They picked up all the shots, despite being much further from their muzzle than recommended. I had it down on the bench around waist height. I'll reset it in order to record the surplus ammo. That's much more consistent, and also quite a bit hotter at just under 1,000 feet per second. In the beginning, I had said how much I paid for the vz.50. I left out that if I had spent just $70 more, I could have gotten one in much better condition, one rated as good, or excellent even. But where's the fun in that? Thanks for watching.